silence the truth. Hell no. We gon' make it break through. When we come together, ain't no stopping what we do. You can't silence the truth. Never watch it all come to light. Documents and make that perfect story fade.
Just a girl from Bama, boots on the clay. Truth in my pocket, chasing light through the gray. Met a girl from Florida, fire in her stride. Justice in her heart, where the secrets reside. For the truth and the justice, we rise and we ride. Peeling back the layers where the real ones hide. Together we uncover, together we ignite. From the south to the world, we bring wrongs to the light. Her words cut sharp like the edge of a blade. My roots run deep in the shade of the glade. We connect the dots, map the lies they spin. Two southern queens where the reckoning begins. From Alabama dirt to Florida waves, breaking all the chains, no one's left enslaved. With the voices loud in the silent halls, echo through the mountains, answer justice's calls. They whispered in shadows, but we heard it clear. Truth a heavy burden, but we'll bear it near. Flip the script, reveal what they buried so deep. Justice ain't asleep, it just needed to leave. For the truth and the justice, we rise and we ride. Peeling back the layers where the real ones hide. Together we uncover, together we ignite. From the south to the world, we bring wrongs to the light.
But eventually,
take it off, form on my street, damn, are you wrong? But I'll die to settle scores. Are your business getting back to me? You don't know it, but it's bad to be your war, yeah.
time from somebody they never killed a child.
Dahmer denied killing Adam, so police ruled him out and closed the Walsh case 3 years ago without new evidence, blaming it on another dead serial killer. The former FBI profiler believes Dahmer is the more likely suspect.
Part 1.
On July 27, 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh accompanied his mother, Reeve Walsh, on a shopping trip to Sears. Reeve left Adam alone in the toy department to play video games while she went looking for a lamp. When Reeve returned to the toy department, Adam was nowhere to be seen.
Turned about 5 to 10 minutes later, Adam was nowhere to be found.
Literally thousands of posters just like these are being distributed all over Florida.
The Walshes launched what's still considered today Florida's largest search for a missing child.
He's our only child. He's a beautiful little boy, and we just want him back more than anything.
I just want that person to know that we want to help them as well as Adam.
One moment, Adam is playing video games at a Sears store. The next minute, he's gone, vanished. There were shoppers all around, even a security guard. It was the middle of the day, yet no one really saw much of anything. The sun went down, the store closed, and Adam was nowhere to be found.
We're the parents of Adam Walsh, who's been missing since yesterday noon from the Hollywood Sears Mall on Hollywood Boulevard. 6.5 years.
Reve Walsh.
We'd appreciate anyone with any information about him or have seen him or think they saw him to please call the Hollywood police.
I am prepared to offer a substantial reward for any information leading to the safe giving up of Adam. And to any of the people out there that might be holding Adam, we are prepared to negotiate ourselves with them for a safe release of Adam.
Police were baffled. How could a little boy disappear from a crowded store in the middle of the day? The parking lot full of shoppers. The police station just across the street. Who could pull off such a crime and not leave a single clue behind? Then, 2 weeks later, a grisly discovery.
The worst that we could have imagined happened.
Adam's head was found in a canal about 125 miles north of the mall.
We think we gave it our best effort to bring him back. I just wish it had a happier ending.
Adam evidently was too good for this world. He was much greater than this world.
I don't know who would do this to a 6-year-old child. I can't conceive of it. It's beyond the realm of reality.
Rumors ran rampant. The Walshes were brought in for questioning, given a lie detector test, and then cleared. Adam Walsh's killer was still free, roaming the streets.
This person is fully capable of doing it again.
The search for Adam was one of the largest in history. His death was the catalyst to the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children founded by John and Reeve Walsh. Adam's father has been the host of America's Most Wanted since 1988, and the show is currently airing on Fox Network. As you read this, please keep Megan Walsh, second born after Adam, daughter of the Walshes, her for children in mind, especially 2-year-old Esther, who is owned by the state. If you are unaware of her situation, please become aware. In brief, John and Reeve Walsh illegally removed their daughter's Megan children from her care. 3 years ago, after Megan moved out of the Walsh residence with her children, of whom she had full custody of, the removal of her children was based entirely on false accusations, and she was never given due process despite everything she has done and continues to do, not just for her, but for the thousands of other children, families, and survivors of child trafficking at the hands of the government, including law enforcement and Child Protective Services (CPS). John and Reeve currently have custody of Megan's 2 eldest children, and her other daughter is living with her father. Megan's youngest, Esther, was removed at 5 days old and placed in foster care, where she remains to this day. John and Reeve Walsh are the criminals. They are America's most wanted and always have been. Welcome to the beginning, what you are about to see in the next parts of this story until the end. You will never unsee, and the things people in power do to us to entrap true reality and truth from being revealed will now be known to all. God bless you all.
Searching.
Thousands of posters are being distributed all over Florida.
The greatest legacy you can leave is to make a statement for your children.
Till now, there has been no such place to which one could turn in order to try to find and help these children.
I'm delighted to have the opportunity to help launch the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
A strong, loud voice for children. 1-800-THE-LOST.
Call the number on your screen right now.
We have technology to age photographs of missing children.
These operators do God's work.
I owe so much to the National Center. They saved my life.
We're going to bring him home.
Code Adam was established as a tribute to my son.
The new cyber tip line will be using the internet to help catch child predators who operate online.
We dedicate it as the Children's Building.
But this is a building of hope. Thank you.
To walk through the doors at the National Center, I suddenly was meeting so many people.
A financial coalition to eradicate commercial child pornography.
This may be the most important piece of legislation in the last 20 years.
We established immediately a Katrina hotline number.
She Disappeared Group is introducing a new tool to help find missing children.
We use every piece of technology available to find missing kids.
We're doing a lot right now to just rebuild into the future and be a very forward-leaning organization.
And the message should always be that hope reigns supreme.
We had an incredible open house, like a grand reopening.
We've come a long, long way. Now, the center is more needed than ever.
Are they really trying to find missing children or find your children to traffic them?
Old conversations that are absolutely irrelevant in my opinion. Old conversations that are absolutely irrelevant in my opinion and distracting from the bigger issue here of children still being hurt here. Department of Transportation came out and said, yeah, I was told to go easy on him because he's probably an asset. That's the conversation should be, okay, What asset was he for? Who was he working for? And who was his boss? Because clearly he had a boss. Who were his clients? That's not the conversation. We're rehashing old conversations and doing humiliation rituals right now that are obscure, that are so eye-opening that they take away from the real conversation that we need to have. That right there is, I think, what's really going on here. Here's Dan Bongino this a couple hours ago on Fox News.
RFK, I got to check back on that one. There is more coming on the Epstein files. Listen, I know this is a hot potato for folks. I totally understand.
Do you? Do you really? Because you just said, no, the government's official version of events are true. Trust us. What? Yeah, it's a hot potato. Yeah, thousands of children were hurt here, and they never got justice for it. Never. Thousands of children are going to still continue to be hurt because the predators aren't being held accountable by you, the deputy director of the FBI.
My comments were clear. I'm not paid for my opinions anymore. I work for the taxpayer now. I'm paid.
Okay. Do your job then.
Paid on evidence. That's it. The evidence we have in our files clearly indicates that it was, in fact, a suicide. We do have...
the evidence inside the files. You mean the FBI officials that were a part of ignoring the victims for 30-plus years? They wrote something in a document, and now you're believing it as like the Holy Bible? Oh, hallelujah. Yes, FBI that lies, that aided and abetted, not just this case, multiple cases. There's multiple cases of the FBI being involved in aiding and abetting child predators. But that same FBI wrote something in a document, so we're going to have to believe it on its face value and not skeptically be like, maybe these guys have a conflict of interest. Maybe they won't incriminate themselves. Maybe they won't say, Dear Diary, today we...
Watch the only television show that's endorsed by the FBI, America's Most Wanted, Sunday on Fox 54.
But look how they had Aquino in the fucking army or some shit. They got a devil worshiper. I saw him on Phil Donahue, and I was aghast. A Satanist was like in our intelligence. And he had the great big old Satan mustache and everything. The Church of Set or whatever it's called, the Satan worshippers in the military. What the fuck? What?
Yeah. He was all about MK Ultra mind control and using trauma as a basis of it. Going into the trauma of Satanism is horrific. Sexual abuse of a child is horrific. Blood trauma is absolutely horrific. Appointed by Byrd, to subject me to more trauma and to that kind of mind manipulation that was used on our military. And then also used on children because he was caught up in the Presidio daycare scandal and McMartin. He was on the McMartin board to cover up the crimes on top of everything else in Marin County. Absolutely horrific what was allowed. And the little children were saying, why does the FBI protect Aquino? Because the FBI has been complicit in the New World Order all along. The FBI has been complicit in covering up child sex trafficking for a long time. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was set up in the FBI building through Senator Byrd. He had actually had an office in the FBI building to set that up as a catch-net operation for the children who were trafficked. And the FBI came in and just made sure that Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino could just stay free in spite of how many crimes he was caught up in, just like they cover up for the Clintons, and the rest
Epstein,
of these perpetrators.
They covered up for him forever too.
Yeah. Wherever the Epstein Island of the time is, to make sure that the traumas continue for mind control purposes.
Who hurt the children? Where are they now? Again, the MCC known, the Metropolitan Correctional Center known for being extremely corrupt. You're telling me, working with the intel agencies, working with the feds, they don't have the capabilities to hide and to obfuscate and to manipulate and to procure videos that, again, just fake all of this. You're looking at the agency files. You're looking at a criminal statement here. And if you're the prosecutors, oh, this is what the criminal says. The criminal is always not going to implicate himself. Okay. Now, we also found out, very interestingly, according to the New York Times, that Jeffrey Epstein also was investigated with Peter Thiel. Yep. Mr. Epstein, the late financier and ex-offender, started by putting $40 million into Peter Thiel's kind of connected company, Palantir, that's building a database on everybody soon with the help of the federal government. What's really going on there? And again, Don Bongino, when he wasn't the deputy FBI director, this is what he was saying.
I was told by someone a long time ago, a very knowledgeable reporter, and it's not my information. I'm not hiding. I mean, oh, you're hiding up for some foreign government. You're protecting. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm only telling you what I was told.
Then, what are you doing now, though?
That some governments around the world may have some material that's related to the Epstein thing. Bill Clinton was knee deep in this, man.
He definitely was. He was ditching the Secret Service to fly off on the Lolita Express.
I have a very, very good source. I've told you this story. Forgive me for repeating it if you're a P1, but some people are new here and never heard this. He was on the plane with Bill Clinton and Epstein on one of Epstein's planes when Bill Clinton was on the plane with some women who, according to my source, looked underage.
They were underage. Okay. Where's that source now? And why isn't that source promoted and rewarded for his very brave behavior and whistleblowing on this? And why aren't we hearing anything about this now?
Why was my source on the plane? Dan, you know people who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein? No, I don't.
Those same guys, you're going to put your whole entire career, your whole entire reputation on those same guys that covered it up and said, yeah, they're absolutely telling the truth here. Absolutely, 100%. Especially on government public records. Yeah, they, of course, would totally tell everybody if they committed if they did something illegal, they would totally write it down on the government report and disclose it to everybody. Duh. That's how criminals work. Yeah. That right there is naiveness to the highest extent here.
However, the video does show in that specific block that he goes in, made a phone call.
Here.
You'll
Again,
see.
I've been doing this for 21 years. I've been screaming about these issues for 21 years. I've been talking about there's satanic demons, child predators out there in government for like over 21 years. Of course, that's what it takes to commit some of the most awful, horrible, evil conspiracies out there in this world.
In the back of the plane, everybody went to go, whatever, do their thing. My friend's not comfortable with it.
As there's children around everywhere, by the way.
They land, and he's like to the guy who's running the show, if you know what I mean, I ain't going to be part of whatever's going on this plane.
Now, with this information, you're the deputy FBI director. You bring in Bill Clinton. Bill, hey, this day, this time, what'd you do? Oh, what children were there? How old were they? Let's go. Let's go! That's what you do. It takes balls, courage to do that. Everything that we're seeing right now, man, golly, gosh darn it. It's not looking too good.
Thank you for everything you're doing. I want to introduce myself. My name is Megan Walsh. I'm the daughter of John Walsh.
Oh, John Walsh.
I speak out against
I ran into John in La Forquetas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, your brother, right?
Yes, Adam Walsh. And Callahan is my brother.
Yeah.
And they're currently trafficking my children behind closed doors, and no one will pay attention to us. I speak out about our government-sanctioned child trafficking through CPS and our family court.
Hold on one second. Oh, I'm running a little late for this speech.
I just want to introduce myself and thank you for what you're doing. I hope maybe we can connect in the future and talk about our American families and American child trafficking. I will, sir.
It's on the website.
I will. Thank you.
Megan Walsh trying to speak and have a conversation with Dan Bongino, assistant director of our current FBI, about CPS and about her kids being taken by John Walsh, her father, at CrimeCon in 2021 or 2022. And you could see here that he did nothing, absolutely nothing. He wanted to do a photo opt instead of discussing more in depth with her on this topic also, when attempting to contact him via email as he stated in this video, for her to contact him so they could speak more on the topic and the situation. and this crisis that is happening in America. He also ignored her and got no response. No conversation. Nothing. Absolutely silence. And now he's in the FBI as one of the head honcho chachos, and he's still doing nothing. We need to reach out, and we need to discuss this video with him, and discuss the situation and ask Dan why he hasn't done anything about it. We must discuss this crisis, and we must discuss what we're going to do about it, and do it immediately and urgently. No more games at this point, Dan. Megan's children must be returned to her now. This isn't right. It is actually horrifying to know that this is really happening in America. What about the children, Dan? They really need you, and especially right now. I will be writing to Dan along with the FBI this week with a petition for immediate answers, immediate response, and immediate action upon this. I will be disclosing a link in the description of this video, and we would appreciate if you would please click the link to sign our petition to Dan and to the FBI, and joining us in our fight for them to return Megan's children to her immediately, and for answers on all of the missing children of our country. We appreciate all of our listeners. Please share this to as many people as you can. Thank you, and God bless you all.
This month, June 2024, they are still infiltrating American families and their children. As we continue to tell you the truth behind this story, remember, they are still fighting against us with their narratives even today, in real time.
Hi, I'm John Walsh, co-founder of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and host of America's Most Wanted and In Pursuit with John Walsh. You know, it's hard to believe, but 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of NCMEC. That's 40 years of helping make sure that every child around the world has a safe childhood. But we can't do this critical work without you. We're looking for every one of NCMEC's friends to donate $40 or more to help us celebrate our 40th anniversary. We have over 3 million followers on our social media channels. Imagine what we could do with that level of support. How many children we can help bring home, or how many children can be saved from unimaginable situations. So please saddle up at give.missingkids.org and join us in helping make sure that every child has a safe childhood today.
someone never killed. I never killed a child.
Welcome back to episode 3 of the True Crime Syndicate of Adam Walsh. The article below from June 30th, 1981 explains a lot just how bad the drug smuggling was in the Bahamas, as well as Florida during the year and time of Adam's disappearance. In the beginning of this episode, I would like to show you guys a preview of a show that just premiered, I believe, on Netflix as a series called Hotel Cocaine. In this series, it explains a whole lot of what was going on in Florida in the 1970s and 1,980 seconds in Miami within the hotel industry and cocaine smuggling that was going on. And don't forget how close Hollywood, Florida, in which we know the Diplomat Hotel was located, in which John Walsh was the manager of, and the owner was none other than John Monahan, whom was also managing and had ownership in many, many other hotels and properties in Florida as well. Keep in mind the similarities you will see in this case through the Diplomat Hotel and the players in which were involved or played a role at the Diplomat Hotel during the time of Adam's disappearance. Remember the constant drug smuggling going on, John Walsh as the manager, John Monahan as the co-owner boss, James Campbell as the Cabana boy, John Walsh's brother Joe, whom ran to notify James on the Cabana beach as he was supposedly there for a photo shoot to set up things for a set. Keep in mind while watching also the officials involved, the DEA, government, high-end officials, presidents, celebrities. Think of the kidnapping and the cocaine.
South Florida has always been a smuggler's paradise. During Prohibition, rum runners hauled illegal liquor from the Caribbean islands to the coast of Florida. In the 60s, the hippies discovered marijuana and smugglers flew the fine Colombian into Florida by the ton. Then came the drug that changed everything. Cocaina.
Hold up, boys!
The marijuana routes became cocaine routes, and the money hit Miami like a tidal wave. Cocaine profits changed Miami's skyline overnight. And with the money came, well, you can probably guess. Over time, I would come to learn a hard Miami lesson, a lesson none of us wanted to hear. So listen close while you sniff that yayo, pop a pill, fuck that person who isn't your wife or husband. Make sure you don't forget, every pleasure has a price. Was a place that made Studio 54 look like a church picnic. The Mutiny Club. Fueling it all was cocaine. Yayo, toot, blow, sniff, sugar, bump, nose candy. If you were lucky enough to book a room, you could stay at the hotel. 138 rooms, each with its own individual theme. If the walls of this hotel could talk, muchacho, they'd tell an epic story. But since they can't, I guess it's up to me. My name's Roman Comte, and I'm the general manager of the Mutiny Club and Hotel. Guests came from all over the world, including the biggest celebrities on the planet. Mira, there's Liza Minnelli. She'll be up all night. Is that John Lennon in the booth? And over there is the president of Bolivia and his generals. The year was 1978, and the cocaine wars of Miami stopped at our entrance. We were Switzerland, neutral territory, where drug dealers sent drinks over to DEA agents and avoided killing each other because everyone was having too much fun.
Roman, you almost out of champagne.
Push the tequila, send the plane to pick up a couple hundred cases of Dom. Omar, Smile. Life is good. Mr. Bonham, thought you left for tour.
Leave these gorgeous mutiny girls? No fucking way. Zeppelin can wait.
My job was to keep everyone happy at the Pleasure Palace. Especially my boss, owner Burton Greenberg.
Roman. Very important guest in the Lunar Dream Suite. A gentleman by the name of Hunter Thompson. Perhaps you've heard of him?
The journalist.
Oh, please. He's so much more than that. He speaks truth to power, just like I do. And he is interviewing me for a piece in Rolling Stone. We did it, buddy! We did it! He's going to immortalize the mutiny. Want to do a line?
No thanks, I'm on the job.
Ah, yeah. Speaking of your job, let's play Find the DEA Agent at the Martini Bar. Got him? Good. I know people don't get busted here, but we don't want Hunter thinking we got narcs in the club, okay? Liza, I've got those roots for you!
Zulio, how can I help?
I'll cut straight to the chase. I want to talk to you about Nesta Cabal.
And that's when I knew the party was over.
You know where we at? Hotel cocaine, hotel cocaine. You ready for more?
1978. We were the hottest pleasure palace in Miami. The Mutiny Club. The cocaine wars stopped at our entrance. Drug dealers avoided killing each other because everyone was having too much fun. Enjoy your stay.
Let's play Find the DEA Agent at the bar.
Why'd you never tell me that your brother's the biggest trafficker in Miami?
We went our separate ways.
You have a young daughter. What if her father was aiding and abetting a drug trafficker? I'm gonna need you to reestablish your connection.
You abandoned me.
I didn't want to kill people so I could sell drugs.
You're gonna have to prove something.
What's that?
That I can trust you.
I remind you that you're trying to keep your family together.
I will come to learn a hard Miami lesson. Every pleasure has a price.
Hope this clip from this series gives you a little idea of what exactly John Walsh was experiencing at the time of Adam's disappearance. We will now continue on in this story on uncovering the truth. June 2nd, 1983. Well. John's best pal, Jeff O'Regan, is implicated in Operation Jackpot. Operation Jackpot was a year-long government probe of South Carolina-based drug smuggling and the financiers who back such operations. It involved 7 federal agencies and 2 state agencies. Offload sites were in Charleston County, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, New York, and New Jersey. Apparently, drug smugglers have gotten so sophisticated that it's difficult to catch them in the act anymore. The article goes on to state that according to the indictment, defendants played different roles, took different tasks, and participated in the affairs of the conspiracy through various criminal acts. In fact, according to the article, the last and most profitable venture for the Riley ring occurred in the fall of 1981 when Les Riley, Leon Harvey, Steele, Roy Riley, Bauer, Robert Bob the Boss Byers, Campbell, Gedini, O'Regan, and Rode imported 100,000 pounds of hashish from Lebanon. Fall of 1981? You mean around the time Adam was abducted and murdered? Resulting in family and close friends flocking to the Walsh residence for support. With those close friends being Jeff O'Regan and his wife, Karen, who stayed with the Walshes in their home until after Adam's funeral, at which point John and Reeve then left town to spend a week with the O'Regans in Ithaca, NY? Yep. To reiterate, the face of America's most wanted and in pursuit, the man who claims to be fighting against crime and locking up drug dealers and gang members, was best friends with Jeff O'Regan, a drug smuggler of the Riley ring. This is not just an acquaintance or someone John has known for a couple of years. Jeff was the college friend that got John the job as lifeguard and cabana boy at the Diplomat Hotel in 1970. John even states this in his interview with detectives. James Campbell does as well. Now we have two people very close to John Walsh involved in major drug smuggling, John Monahan and Jeff O'Regan. June 7, 1983, 2 days after Jeff O'Regan is implicated as a cocaine smuggler in Operation Jackpot, filming begins on the movie Adam in Houston, TX. This is a terrifyingly good example of predictive programming, red flag. Let's look at some excerpts taken from article published by the Sun Sentinel. NBC made-for-television movie. The film will tell the story of his parents' successful battle for improved federal laws relating to the investigation of missing children. Jabeth Williams, star of director Steven Spielberg's horror movie Poltergeist, will portray his wife, Reeve. Television star Daniel J. Travanti of Hill Street Blues has accepted the role of Walsh. John states, and Travanti's one of the nicest, unaffected people I've ever met in the entertainment business. Yes, John, thank you for clarifying. You've met several people in the entertainment industry. Walsh, who is serving as a consultant to the production. We will not show the actual abduction, explained production executive Sari Steinberg. We can't show it because who knows what happened. The focus of the scene will basically be on Reeve, right, so you can convince the public of her innocence. The story will use real names and culminate at an October ceremony in the Rose Garden, where President Ronald Reagan signed the Missing Children Act that bill established separate files within the National Crime Information Center computer systems for missing persons and unidentified bodies. Get ready for this one, people. Walsh said private elements of his family's nightmare also will be revealed. One scene will depict Walsh and his wife recuperating at the home of a friend in Ithaca, NY, following Adam's funeral. You mean Jeff and Karen O'Regan of Ithaca, NY? The same Jeff O'Regan implicated in cocaine trafficking in a newspaper article published 2 days before this one. Yes, that Jeff O'Regan. It hasn't even been 2 years since Adam was abducted and murdered. The production and release of this movie is beyond unethical and completely compromises the case. Too many people in powerful positions are involved, and they care more about making money off a movie and passing laws allowing the creation of a computer database for missing children accessible to law enforcement and non-profit organizations than actually solving Adam's case. Catching the perpetrator. Ms. Steinberg said both this fall's season and the winter 1984-1985 season have been discussed. Walsh is confident that whenever the movie airs, it will have a substantial audience. They say that even if this draws a low rating, it will be seen by 20 million people. Walsh said, that could have quite an impact. Referring to the movie, John Walsh states, it just proves one thing, that if a bunch of people do care and do work to change things, sometimes the effort is worthwhile. It hasn't even been 2 years since Adam was abducted and murdered. The production and release of this movie is beyond unethical and completely compromises the case. Too many people in powerful positions are involved, and they care more about making money off a movie and passing laws allowing the creation of a computer database for missing children accessible to law enforcement and non-profit organizations than actually solving Adam's case. Catching the perpetrator.
Instead, it seems a horrific situation has been contrived to intentionally sensationalize across every media outlet across the nation for years to traumatize the public, thereby creating a need for a nationwide clearinghouse. Fear, worry, panic, anxiety over missing children. They're playing on everyone's worst nightmare. It is beyond evident that the media has done an excellent job at driving the public suspicion away from Adam's parents, John and Reve. Irrespective of the case being closed, the release of Adam, the movie, pretty much seals the deal insofar as the Walsh parents being suspects is concerned.
It was a long-awaited day for John Walsh from Florida, who has lobbied hard in the past year to make this bill a reality. The case of his 6-year-old son Adam is still not closed. He disappeared from a Hollywood Sears store in July 1981, and after an exhaustive search, only part of his remains were found in a nearby canal. What Walsh now hopes is that this legislation will reduce the thousands of similar tragedies that occur each year.
It's a tiny step that should have been done 10 years ago. It will create some awareness. It will create awareness among local police and parents, and it will be the first initial tiny step in a tremendous problem that has to be addressed in a greater scope.
Participating in the conference committee was the bill's sponsor, Senator Hawkins, who called it a great parental victory.
Now, the parents can now go to the FBI and verify whether the local police have put the child's name in the national computer. And if they have not, we have a letter of guarantee from the FBI, signed by Judge Webster, that the FBI will list the child then in the computer. So,
according to both Hawkins and Walsh, the importance of this direct parental access to the FBI must not be underestimated. One, because as of now, local police only report 10% of all missing children to the FBI. And two, because the first 48 hours after a disappearance are the most crucial.
Imagine if John or Reve were convicted during the production of this movie or after the release of this movie. I can think of a few things. Number one, being total loss of the people's trust. Number two, accountability. And there are many players involved here. John, Reve, the Hollywood Police Department, President Reagan, John's business associates at the Resorts International, and the Diplomat, and other associates. Let's see, Senator Paula Hawkins, John Monahan, Alan Landsberg Productions, production executive Sari Seinberg, and etc. These players have way too much to lose at this point. Please note, I did forget to note crucial facts that may be considered. Not only is that typically considered a red flag to investigators, but it's also interesting in and of itself. It tells me that they had powerful connections. Like, seriously, not all parents of missing children are able to get on Good Morning America. Appearing on that show also gets their story out on a national level, which is a key step in gaining public buy-in for the creation of new laws. Number two, Reve was driving with an expired driver's license the day that Adam disappeared. The proof is in the case files. When she is interviewed by investigators, this is part 16 continued from earlier, I believe it is even in the newspaper articles that I've posted as well. But no one has ever mentioned that, at least based on the research that I've done. On November 21st, 1983, an article from January 27th, 1986 states that the Walshes dropped the suit because it hindered their work on behalf of missing children. With John calling the rumors generated by James Campbell's testimony were unjustifiable and malicious. And we also find out that there was a 1.5-hour gap that Reve could not or would not explain about her activities the morning that Adam disappeared. July 22nd, 1983, John and Reve Walsh sue Sears Roebuck in the Hollywood Police Department for negligence and wrongful death. Pretty audacious and narcissistic, but beneficial for the public buy-in if they can pull it off. But on November 9th, 1983, it completely backfires on them when the judge rules that annoyance and embarrassment does not justify the prevention of testimony statements from being made public. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is, as we've stated previously. If they truly were not involved in their son's disappearance and murder, they wouldn't be motivated to hide specific information regarding their personal and domestic life. They have also built an image of themselves for the public, an image that they want to uphold. Viewing the situation from this perspective, it makes sense why they dropped the suit 12 days later, November 21st, 1983. An article from January 27th, 1986 states that the Walshes dropped the suit because it hindered their work on behalf of missing children. With John calling the rumors generated by James Campbell's testimony were unjustifiable and malicious. And we also find out that there was 1.5 hour gap that Reve could not or would not explain about her activities the morning that Adam disappeared.
Monday, NBC presents another world premiere movie. They were a loving, happy family until their son disappeared.
I searched the whole mall and I can't find him.
Every parent's fear becomes the movie you must see.
Whatever happens, I love you. We'll go on.
Starring Hill Street Blues' Daniel J. Travati. Monday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain.
On October 10, 1983, 2 years following Adam's kidnapping and death, the Adam TV movie premieres at 9 p.m. on NBC. The phrase underneath the movie title, Adam, is peculiar. 6 years old, kidnapped, tortured, and almost certainly murdered. Almost certainly murdered? Like, what? Evidently, the producers did not feel it was necessary to inform viewers that Adam's head was found in a canal. They sure did publicize it in the newspapers across the country, though. The Tribune article states, the movie was filmed in Houston, Texas. Producer Linda Otto of Alan Landsberg Productions first learned of John and Reve on the Good Morning America show and the Phil Donahue show. She states, knowing that this was a story that would hit home. The 2-hour-long movie tells how John and Reve Walsh followed their torment with an effort to help other parents whose children had disappeared, and that their dedication brought about Missing Children Act, which President Reagan signed into law. The law created FBI-administered National Clearinghouse for information on missing children and unidentified bodies. The article states, the Walshes spearheaded the search for Adam, and during agonizing waiting, they learned how difficult it is to recover the nearly 2 million children reported missing each year. Linda Otto also states that children are kidnapped every day. In addition, Linda says the movie is not depressing and she sees it as an old-fashioned movie. It sounds really corny, but John Walsh went to Washington and he got a new law enacted. Yeah, too corny. Linda Otto has apparently been involved in the issue of missing children for many years and is the president of the Find the Children, a group she helped start to support organizations that locate missing children. Her office at Alan Landsberg Productions is covered with photographs of missing children. Linda states, they never kidnap children for money. People kidnap children to hurt them. Interesting statement, very black and white. She's stating the only reason people kidnap children is to hurt them, while making a point to emphasize how it is never about money. I wonder what she would say about child pornography. Child pornography is a billion-dollar industry and rising. A New York Times article states, Reve was some 150 feet away and returned in less than 8 minutes. This is false. During interviews of Reve with detectives, the amount of time that she claims to have left Adam alone is inconsistent. The woman goes from 15 minutes to 10 minutes to less than 10 minutes to 5 to 7 minutes to no more than 10 minutes. And apparently now it's less than 8 minutes because Linda Otto and Alan Landsberg Productions just can't get it right, or they're that bad and doubtful. The movie uses this particular case to dramatize the nationwide problem of missing children. There was never a problem of missing children in the context within which it was framed in the movie. They've taken a general statistic on missing children and have applied it to children who are missing due to stranger abductions. Other huge problems are, in fact, that Adam's case has yet to be closed or announced as a cold case when this movie aired. Therefore, it is entirely possible that this was never a stranger abduction. Detectives were smack dab in the middle of trying to solve it, and now a movie is created which compromises this case. The executive producers, Alan Landsberg and Carol L. Fisher, are also directors of Linda Otto's Find the Children organization. This is interesting to note. The subject itself has enormous emotional clout. However, the producers did take out added insurance in the casting of the two key dominant roles, those of the parents of John and Reve Walsh. Insurance? Like, why would they need insurance? In case John or Reve happen to be implicated in the disappearance of their son? Or in the event that this doesn't turn out to be a stranger abduction when you've programmed the world to believe that it was? The first half of this movie focuses on the panic and the growing despair of the parents due to lack of help from authorities outside their own police precedent. State and national agencies do not want to add the burden of looking for missing kids. They want the problem kept at a narrow local level. Much of the film's fury is directed at the Justice Department and the FBI. And here we go. They're giving the public something to place the blame on, thereby creating the need for change, like the implication of new laws. And just for the record, it is critical to note that I have never seen or read Reve express any guilt for leaving her 6-year-old son alone in Sears, located in a mall. Innocent or not, that is abnormal, and especially if you were innocent, which she claims to be. The second half seems to focus on the strains of the Walsh's marriage as a result of losing Adam. But after going through stacks of sympathetic mail from people throughout the country, Jeb received 14,200 Miami Herald reporters. Empathetic that he used to.
Other concerns, including his departure from the Walsh residence a few weeks prior to Adam's abduction and that he knew Adam would be at Sears. Campbell was asked to come in for a polygraph and further questioning, in which he agreed. Campbell is quoted stating he was set up a knave. He was polygraphed by Joe Matthews from Fort Lauderdale, who's a real gem. Matthews' technique is to seduce his subjects with a false empathy, a procedure that some examiners find ethically dubious. Matthews won't say what those intimate personal feelings were, nor will police, whatever they were. They galvanized the investigation. Whatever they were exactly, they galvanized the investigation. We used some techniques that bordered on violating his civil rights. Well, they didn't border. They flat out violated his civil rights. We called him a loser. We called him a live-in dildo. We called him the family pet. We called him everything for more than 3 hours. They interrogated Campbell. We pushed harder than we've ever pushed anybody, said Detective Jack Hoffman. Never, Campbell said, was he advised of his right to remain silent or his right to legal counsel. Police accused him of being a homosexual, of loving Reeve and hating John, of loving John and hating Reeve. They accused him of resenting Adam because he was a little John. They told him his mother hates his guts. Through it all, Campbell
was her interview. And, just for the record, it is critical to note that I have never seen or read Reve express any guilt for leaving her 6-year-old son alone in Sears, located in a mall. Innocent or not, that is abnormal, and especially if you were innocent, which she claims to be. The second half seems to focus on the strains of the Walsh's marriage as a result of losing Adam. But after going through stacks of sympathetic mail from people throughout the country,
How the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was created was virtually by my wife sitting in our garage answering every single one of the over 40,000 letters that the post office brought in boxes every day after Adam was found murdered. She wanted to answer each one and to say, I'm going to start a center. I'm going to get a building in D.C. dedicated to exploitation of children. And then Ronald Reagan stepped up the plate after the Missing Children's Bill was passed. Jay Howell and some people at the Justice Department said we need a center, and the Missing Children's Assistance Bill got written, and Ronald Reagan helped us get that bill passed. That was a battle because it involved money. And I'll never forget, he had me speak at the White House. He symbolically cut the ribbon of the center because we didn't have a building. We were going to rent office space. And they told him, well, John Walsh can't speak in the East Room because it's been reserved throughout history for heads of state. He's just a private citizen. And Ronald Reagan went, I don't give a damn. He's speaking there. So Reagan had us up there. We cut the ceremonial ribbon, and the National Center was launched because of people like Jay Howell, good people, and Ronald Reagan. I don't care what you thought about him. He was a grandfather with a big heart, and he loved children.
Urging them to use the story of Adam to publicize the shocking dimensions of this problem, Reve establishes the Adam Walsh Outreach Center for Missing Children in Broward County, Florida. False. Reve started her organization the evening before she found out that Adam was even dead. Thoughts. If I was a detective, Reve would be my prime suspect, along with John Walsh and John Monahan. Also, I would implicate James Campbell had a role in this as well. I will emphasize Reve based on her behaviors and statements throughout this thread that I'm reading to you and discussing with you. But it was her interview with detectives on November 24th, 1983, that gives me a better understanding of the type of woman that Reve truly is. The function of the Adam movie was predictive programming, to program a specific frame of mind among the nation when it comes to this case and the issue of missing children in general. They do this by framing the context of events a particular way. This is why the media industry is so big, because of the opportunity that they have to immerse control over the mind of people. And there's no better way to frame something other than a movie. You guys, we know the parents are always the number one suspects in these cases. Yet, John and Reve were cleared in a week and allowed to leave the state despite unanswered questions and questionable information that warranted further investigation. Powerful people contrive a horrific situation which evokes fear among the public, thereby establishing motivation within the public to demand action or a solution. And as we know, that solution was already in the works by Senator Hawkins, as we previously discussed. It seems like the government needed a public boost to pass the Missing Children Act. The opportunity could have been presented other than this situation. This is where Reve John Monahan, and an innocent 6-year-old child is literally implicated. And by all means, please note that this is my general hypothesis in which the evidence shows and can implicate the truth. The world premiere of the movie Adam programs fear and panic among the public through this dramatization of a threat, stranger abduction, and the consequences of that threat contingent upon its occurrence in the future, the loss and the ultimate death of your child, intense aversive emotions, feelings of helplessness, marital problems, no help or resources from authorities, which is not true. Like, the police allowed them to create a call center, which compromises this case. How is this possible? How are they able to do this? Just this small, simple family. The public is never provided a reason to suspect John and Reve, but every reason to sympathize with them. The producers program glimmers of hope to leave us feeling like we the people truly have a piece of control. This is exemplified by John and Reve's success in the passage of new laws on missing children and the founding of the clearinghouses within a year of Adam's abduction and murder. This glimmer of hope is literally programming several things indefinitely. That a solution has been found, that our government cares enough to act, the thought that if this is ever an occurrence to you, you can do what John and Reve did, etc. It leaves us with a feeling and sense of control and more aware despite all of the bad, which is not true. On a much deeper and subconscious level, we are significantly less likely to question John and Reve as suspects and significantly more likely to defend them. To do otherwise would require us to re-examine everything we have been conditioned to believe about this case on behalf of John, Reve, and the entire media and entertainment industry, the police department, the government. And this is where the cognitive dissonance comes into play. In other words, if I'm going to consider Reve a suspect, that means that I inevitably must question the role and the motives of the above-mentioned parties in this case. And those above-mentioned parties are the powers that control the narratives in this media, the authority figures we depend on for help in the worst of times, the policymakers, and the lobbyists in government, and the president of our country. I refuse to entertain this notion that all of these players were just stupid or just trying to help spread awareness and help children and help find children and help missing children. And that they were so overwhelmed with themselves that they were blind by these facts. The public eye was not blind. The media hid the true facts and key events in this case and left out extreme amount of evidence, especially by creating this movie.
A 6-year-old sandy-haired youngster disappeared from the Sears Hollywood Mall between 12:30 and 1:45 on Monday afternoon and is still missing at this hour.
July 27th, 1981. There was a toy department, there was electronics, there was video games, there was clothes, and an announcement comes over the PA. Attention shoppers, Adam Walsh, if you can hear this message, your mother is looking for you.
We'd like you shoppers to help us find Adam Walsh.
Adam Walsh was a 6-year-old boy who was with his mother at Sears at the Hollywood Mall that very same day. She went off to look at lamps, I believe, in the whole lighting section of the store. And she left Adam playing, I think, an Atari video game system in like the electronics section of the store.
Police say 6-year-old Adam Walsh is missing a front tooth. He was last seen wearing a beige canvas hat at the Hollywood Mall. Tonight, members of the Citizens Crime Watch of Hollywood continue to search for young Adam. Hollywood police detectives track down leads and help groups out scouring the area.
We've invited his parents, John and Reve Walsh, to be in Channel 4 studio in the hope that their words might be heard by the person or persons who police believe abducted young Adam.
We love Adam very much, and we have no vengeance for the people that have Adam. We do not want to prosecute the people. We just want our son back.
And just in case whoever took him wants to drop him off at the mall, they left the family's car in the same spot it was Monday when Adam left it, waiting for Adam to take him home.
And it was, at the time, the most sensational and highly publicized missing child case in the history of this country.
It's been a frustrating 5 days since 6-year-old Adam Walsh was last seen.
Adam is still missing.
We've searched and searched for Adam, and we haven't found a body, so everybody thinks he's alive. We do too.
Two weeks later, Adam Walsh's head was found.
2 fishermen found the remains of Adam Walsh's skull in this canal near Vero Beach, more than 100 miles north of his Hollywood home. Positive identification was made through dental records.
I don't know who would do this to a 6-year-old child. I can't conceive of it. It's beyond the realm of reality.
His body has never been found. His father, John Walsh, obviously became extremely famous for taking on the mission of missing and exploited children, later fugitives through his series America's Most Wanted. But at that time, there was a TV movie called Adam that aired in 1983 on NBC.
They were a loving, happy family until their son disappeared.
I've searched the whole mall and I can't find him.
Every parent's fear becomes the movie you must see.
The 1-2 punch of the case of Adam Walsh, and then this TV movie, which was watched by 38 million people the first time, and NBC aired it every single year thereafter for like 3 or 4 or 5 years. And during the show, during the commercial breaks, they would show photos of missing children.
I'm John Walsh. Our children are safer by the President's signing of the Missing Children Assistance Act of 1984.
It's too late for our Adam, but it's not too late for the thousands of children who are still out there.
What happened from there was basically we'll call it a mass panic. Misinformation, fear, and paranoia kind of gripped the country.
That's not Jenny's dad. If she gets into that car, you may be looking at Jenny for the last time. I'm McGruff, the crime dog.
There was a statistic put out at the time that later in a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation was found to be total bunk. And the statistic said that 20,000 children go missing every year in stranger abductions.
20,000 kids, one kid at a time, maybe your kid, on your street.
It turned out the real number was closer to like 70. Most child abductions are by people that are known to the person. A parent or a family member takes them. Stranger abductions were not nearly the plague that they were made out to be as a result of this horrific tragedy and crime that happened in South Florida with the Adam Walsh murder. We all became afraid of a boogeyman, basically. One of the suspects in the murder was a drifter and prostitute by the name of Otis Toole.
Otis Toole, a drifter and violent pedophile.
Guy was born in Jacksonville and made his way across the Southeast. He had an IQ of about 75, certainly was a challenged individual, and left a wake of dead people and crimes behind him everywhere he went. He was an associate of another known serial killer by the name of Henry Lee Lucas. Both of them unquestionably murderers who eventually died in prison, but they also were kind of, how should I say, fabulists. They liked to embellish their crimes and adventures, and in fact falsely confessed to numerous crimes.
How many crimes have you confessed to, Otis?
I don't know. I ain't counting.
More than 125?
I don't know.
I see you smiling.
One of the crimes that Otis Toole confessed to was the kidnapping and murder of Adam Walsh. Henry Lee Lucas claimed that he had witnessed part of this and had been in possession of Adam's head for part of those 2 weeks in between the kidnapping and discovery of Adam's head. They both later almost immediately recanted. There was never any witnesses, there was never any additional physical evidence or DNA, and in 2008, long after Toole died, the Hollywood police closed the case.
It is our determination and conclusion that Otis Toole was the abductor and murderer of Adam Walsh.
But through the years, a very compelling theory has arisen. It turns out that that year, and that summer of 1981, Jeffrey Dahmer was living in Sunny Isles, Florida, just a few miles away from the Hollywood Mall. Jeffrey Dahmer had committed at least one murder at that time that we are now aware of. He was working at a sandwich shop, and Dahmer had access to a van, like a blue delivery van that the sub shop had, while Jeffrey Dahmer was living in South Florida. There was an attempted kidnapping at a mall in Palm Beach, Florida, of a young boy. The boy was able to get away. Similar to Adam Walsh, he was playing a video game in a store. Someone tried to abduct him. Young man, that man got away. And there is a sketch of that suspect.
The suspect is described as being a white male in his mid-20s, 5 foot 10 inches tall, 200 pounds, of medium complexion, and having dark brown to black hair.
And if you look at that sketch next to a photo or mugshot of Jeffrey Dahmer from that time period, the resemblance is
0 to none.
Dahmer was asked about the Adam Walsh murder at the time that he was arrested in the early 90s. He denied that he had anything to do with it. While the police have closed the case and while the Walsh family is content with the results of that investigation, the legend, if you will, the mystery, the fear that those of us of a certain age who were growing up, not only in America, but specifically in Florida and South Florida in those days, the fear of the Adam Walsh story lives on, I think, in all of our hearts and minds.
Detective Matthews' interview with Reeve Walsh on November 24, 1983. Important to note that this was almost 2 months after the premiere of Adam and 3 days after she and John dropped their lawsuit against Sears. The contents of Reeve's interview implies that she was considered a suspect. Detective Matthews makes it clear to Reeve that now is the time to be truthful if she has not in the past. He questions her many conflicting statements regarding times, events that occurred prior to Sears, etc. October 11, 1983, Detective Kendrick contacts Hollywood detectives the day after the Adam movie aired on national TV. He claimed Otis Toole wanted to speak to detectives about Adam's abduction and murder. I will come back to Toole. The importance here is timing. October 12, 1983, 2 days after Adam is aired, the movie apparently helps rejoin Girl to parents. Welcome to the very beginning of a brand new narrative. And John Walsh's future career, of course. This is a picture of John Walsh and Hank Asher, now deceased. Hank lived 3 blocks from Sears at the time Adam disappeared one. Hank was a former painter of high-rises and owned a painting company during the mid-70s. He retired by age 30, bought a house in Great Harbor Cay, a speedboat and an Aerostar plane. According to him, these new toys attracted the attention of people with expensive tastes and ran in social circles that appealed to him. This cool new social group of Hanks also just so happened to be cocaine smugglers, which Hank inevitably becomes involved in between 1981 and 1982. According to an FDLE investigation, Asher flew up to 7 plane loads of cocaine from Colombia to the U.S., the largest being 700 kilos flown to an Okeechobee County ranch. The report also alleged he was involved in a U.S.-sanctioned plot to assassinate Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega in the mid-1980s, interestingly. Somewhere along the line, Hank was approached by F. Lee Bailey, future attorney of O.J. Simpson, who had CIA connections and resided in Great Harbor Cay as well. According to an article written in 2004 by the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, Bailey told Fiddle investigators that he and Asher concocted a plan that had Asher misleading traffickers into believing their arrests were imminent and Bailey negotiating plea deals that took the smugglers out of the business. In 1988, the same year, America's Most Wanted airs with John Walsh as host. Hank decides to get involved in freelance computer programming and data mining. A 2004 Vanity Fair article states the following. Asher was learning a programming language called Clarion. He was fascinated by it, says Bailey, because it enabled him to synthesize all these databases. Bailey had no doubt that something would come of it. Data mining was so new that no laws governed the use of the public records on which it fed. Asher could have sold his data to the public, he says, and made a lot more money while DBT was starting out, but he chose to sell it only to legitimate investigators. Right. Hank donated AutoTrack to America's Most Wanted, says Walsh. He made the overture to me. He wanted to get involved. AutoTrack's impact was hard to overestimate. Walsh had also helped set up the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Here, too, AutoTrack proved invaluable. Far more children, observes Walsh, are abducted each year by what he calls the psychopath parent who didn't get custody. Of the more than 100,000 cases tracked since 1990 by the Center, AutoTrack and Accurant have proved helpful in literally thousands of them. Always, Walsh notes, Asher has made his systems available to the Center for free. Neither for that nor for the financial contributions he's made has he sought any public recognition. Hank doesn't want anyone to know what he gives, says Walsh, but he and the Center's Ernie Allen think it's time the Center's largest private donor got credit. Asher's most recent donation, only his most recent, was a reported $7.9 million. Regarding Asher's past, John Walsh, for one, waved away the story as old news. I know all the bullshit about Hank, he says. All that was cool in those days. Jimmy Buffett bragged about it. What matters, says Walsh, is that Asher has lived up to his philosophy, doing well by doing good. Wow, John, what a dramatic shift in character. Like I've said before, your attempts at impression management are futile. You defend a former drug smuggler because it is beneficial for you. You get free access to powerful databases to help find missing children. Asher served on the NCMEC board from 2003 to 2013. His drug smuggling past has always been defended by the organization, which is further validated in the newspaper clippings below. I encourage everyone to read the Vanity Fair article, as it reveals a lot of important information. One critical piece of information was quoted by Brian Stafford, former head of Secret Service and friend of Asher's. Database Technologies DBT, one of the first companies Asher founded, was behind the list of felons purged from the Florida voter rolls before the 2000 election, which, according to one article, was really a blatant disenfranchisement of legitimate voters to ensure that George W. Bush won. Based on what I've read, Asher was working at DBT in 1998 when DBT contracted with the FBI and D for this whole election fraud thing. But in May of 1999, his drug smuggling past resurfaced, which made clients uneasy, the same clients who are okay with engaging in election fraud. Asher steps down but remained a stockholder in DBT. In the fall of 1999, DBT bought out Asher for $147 million in order to regain the FBI and DEA. Asher developed Matrix Multi-State Anti-Terrorism Information Exchange 2 days after 9/11. By 9/17, he had an entire bunker full of computers built at his home in Boca Raton. Anyway, Jeb Bush introduced Asher when he initially presented the software to Vice President Cheney, FBI Director Mueller, and Head of Homeland Security Tom Ridge in January 2003. A few months later, Homeland Security gave Matrix a seal of approval and granted $8 million to get it up and running. According to Dana Jill Simpson, a whistleblower from Karl Rove's dirty politics and election fraud operation, Asher's newer data mining companies called Tlo worked for Smartech, a partisan Republican firm involved in computerized election theft. Asher died of natural causes about 2 months after Simpson released this chart. This is a roadmap from an election coalition website I found that lays it all out for you, plain as day. The green lines represent the money and the red lines represent control and power. Simpson has also stated outright in private posts on her Facebook page that Asher worked for the CIA, was their best hacker, and developed the clicker system meant to rig the 2012 election for Romney. One of the most important quotes from the Vanity Fair article was that of Brian Stafford. When discussing the public's concern about the implementation of Matrix, he states, "Matrix is not." Other notable people Asher associated with were Brian L. Stafford, former head of the Secret Service from 1999 to 2003 and former NY Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He also had former drug smugglers working for him. This is what confuses me about the privacy concerns. I'm all for privacy and we should always have those discussions. But this information is the same information that law enforcement has had access to for 20 years. The Vanity Fair article was written in December 2004, and the former head of Secret Service has stated that this database has been around since 1984. Not long after PROMIS was stolen from the Department of Justice by the Department of Justice, the DOJ oversaw every single bit of that operation. They knew exactly who Raphael Edian was, chief of the Israeli Defense Forces Anti-Terrorism Intelligence Unit, and allowed him to steal it on May 6, 1983. Enter Robert Maxwell. Edian seeks Maxwell's help to further the distribution of the PROMIS derivative software to a diverse coalition of intelligence agencies worldwide, including over $500 million in covert sales to Canada, Great Britain, Australia, South Korea, the Soviet KGB, a Polish intelligence agency, and Communist China. When they say derivative, they mean the updated version of PROMIS, which has the espionage backdoor. Then, according to federal court documents, PROMIS was stolen from Insla by the Dodge directly after Eshan's 1983 visit to Insla. Then it was stolen again and sold by Dr. Earl W. Bryan to Israel and at least 80 other countries. As a side note, Dr. Bryan was extremely close to Ronald Reagan. Ask yourselves, why has MSM lauded Reagan all these years? Inversion much?
Jeb Bush facts to keep in mind. Jeb Bush moved to Miami in March of 1980. He states the following to a reporter for Miami News in 1983. I want to be very wealthy, and I'll be glad to tell you when I've completed this goal that any other city this size anywhere else in the U.S. has a big corporate base. But here, the business power is in the hands of a lot of entrepreneurs. Jeb launched his political career in December 1983 as chairman of the Dade County Republican Party from 1984 to 1987. Jeb received $14,200 in donations from Miami home builder, convicted drug trafficker, and murder suspect Leonel Martinez, also whom had connections with Escobar. Interestingly, the Miami New Times News states the following. The early 80s drug trade was booming, and in 1981, Martinez began smuggling marijuana and cocaine. He was both bold and adept in his methods. In Colombia, during March 1981, he arranged a shipment of 24,000 pounds of pot, taking the load to Everglades City and selling it all, netting at $900,000. The next year, he hired a local gas station owner named Alcines Cruz to transport marijuana from the Bahamas in the high-powered go-fast boats favored by smugglers of that day. Martinez and Cruz imported at least 10 loads of 8,000 pounds each in the early 1980s, switching to luxury yachts for transport when drug enforcement agents began hounding every go-fast boat on the water. Martinez also was close friends with Eden Pastora, a leader of Contra rebels fighting in Nicaragua. Apparently, Pastora, who broke with the Sandinista leadership after the 1979 revolution, was a hero to anti-communist Latins in Miami and a favorite of Reagan administration policymakers in Washington. Bush was connected to BCCI drug money laundering scandal from 1986 to 1987. Feel free to take a deep dive down the Bush rabbit hole of corruption at any of the sites below this video, because this information that I'm giving you is just a grain of sand on a beach. There's so much in depth and so much more. In 2005, a 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford disappeared and ultimately was murdered. She was raped and buried alive in 2 trash bags under a foot of dirt. Her murder was blamed solely on a lone pedophile by the name of John Cooey, when there is evidence proving beyond a reasonable doubt that her death was connected to a very large political drug sex ring in which Mark Lunsford had a lot to do with. Jessica's father, who was most likely pimping her out to a local sex ring in the Homomosa area. The most obvious example is being Mark's child pornography collection found in the recycle bin of his computer. But that was heavily downplayed, not considered a big deal by investigators. Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, broke Megan's Law by failing to inform the Citrus County Sheriff's Office that Cooey was a repeat sex offender, causing a delay in their response. Anonymous sources in the Citrus County Sheriff's Office say that there was a high-level interference from D.C. and Washington in Tallahassee, Florida, and in the Cooey case, and that it involves others. True crime writer Chris Dow investigated the Cooey case and claimed that there indeed was covered up evidence due to the political pressure. Dahl corresponded with Cooey while he was in prison. Cooey promised to reveal everything about his case, but died of natural causes shortly afterwards. Dahl became suspicious and began probing all the irregularities behind this
Anyway,
case,
technically, the development of permits really goes back to the late 70s and is a huge rabbit hole. It was first presented to the Dodge in 1981 for the purpose of case management.
Visit the trailer owned by Cooey's half-sister, Dorothy Dixon, on at least 3 occasions. Cooey and Jessica were never seen, but suspicious activity was noted. Shortly after Cooey was apprehended, police arrested Dorothy Dixon, her daughter, Maddie Sickern, and Dixon's boyfriend, Matt Dietrich, on obstruction of justice charges for lying to police by saying that Cooey did not live at the trailer when police first came to ask them. In other words, they covered for Cooey by lying for him. That's a misdemeanor in the first degree. Now, did they face any charges for that? No, they did not. Cooey was the subject of a manhunt and was also somehow able to travel down US 19 for a week without any police noticing him. He was eventually arrested in Savannah, Georgia. In addition, State Attorney Brad King and Citrus County Sheriff Jeff Dawsey, both prominent players in the Lunsford case, were accused of covering up child sex abuse at Green Isle Ranch in the nearby Lake County. And if that's not enough, FDOT Inspector General Raymond Leem was found dead at a motel in Valdosta under the suspicious circumstances while investigating Yang Enterprises, which was directly tied to voting fraud scams and child trafficking. Yang Enterprises was represented by Tom Feeney, a close friend of the Bush family. Coggins Farms of Lake Park, Georgia, is a central participant in the Valdosta sex ring. The Coggins family are Republicans and have been made large donations to former Senator Saxby Chambliss and George W. Bush. Coggins farm owner Kevin Coggins was a major player in the Georgia Republican Party. Coggins Farms has been accused of smuggling in illegal immigrants from Mexico, Honduras, and other countries to be used as farm laborers and sex slaves. Those held captive at Coggins Farms often became victims of a larger Valdosta sex ring known as the Dixie Mafia. According to some sources, political support for the Valdosta sex ring led all state and federal investigations and grand jury probes investigating the matter to be shut down on orders from the White House. Oh, and Joshua Lunsford, Mark's son and Jessica's brother, was 18 when he was charged with the felony sex assault of a minor. He was permitted to plead to a misdemeanor. He spent 10 days in jail and was not required to register as a sex offender. Meanwhile, we have John Walsh traveling the country emphasizing the fact that Megan's Law is not being followed by law enforcement and expressing sympathy for Mark Lunsford. If you think John Walsh just forgot about Mark's addiction to child pornography, you are very mistaken. He has been distracting from the truth under the guise of something that appears to be good for the purpose of covering up sex rings and those who are involved. The circumstances surrounding both Jessica's abduction and murder, her convicted killer John Cooey, and his connections with the Valdosta sex ring could fill several books. I encourage you all to further investigate this because you all deserve to know the truth about John Walsh. The real truth. I know some of you are unfamiliar with many cases that he has been involved in or covered or has had a show about. And he was featured in each one of these. But I will show you a list and you tell me that there's something really, really weird about this. And why is he covering every single major case on the news media? You tell me. If you don't see it by now, then I don't know what to tell you guys.
can't silence the truth. Hell no. We gon' can't silence the truth. Hell no. We gon' make it break through. When we come together, ain't no stopping what we do. You can't silence the truth. Never watch it all come to light. Documents and make that perfect story fade.
Just a girl from Bama, boots on the clay. Truth in my pocket, chasing light through the gray. Met a girl from Florida, fire in her stride. Justice in her heart, where the secrets reside. For the truth and the justice, we rise and we ride. Peeling back the layers where the real ones hide. Together we uncover, together we ignite. From the south to the world, we bring wrongs to the light. Her words cut sharp like the edge of a blade. My roots run deep in the shade of the glade. We connect the dots, map the lies they spin. Two southern queens where the reckoning begins. From Alabama dirt to Florida waves, breaking all the chains, no one's left enslaved. With the voices loud in the silent halls, echo through the mountains, answer justice's calls. They whispered in shadows, but we heard it clear. Truth a heavy burden, but we'll bear it near. Flip the script, reveal what they buried so deep. Justice ain't asleep, it just needed to leave. For the truth and the justice, we rise and we ride. Peeling back the layers where the real ones hide. Together we uncover, together we ignite. From the south to the world, we bring wrongs to the light.
But eventually,
take it off, mama, strip down, are you wrong? But I'll die to settle scores. Are your business getting back to me? You don't know it, but it's bad to be your war, yeah.